Slinging seeds, sliding on into home, throwing heat, buddy, we're going, gone. If you gotta go down, you gotta go down, swinging, slinging seeds. It's America's favorite pastime. Come on, let's have a good time, slinging seeds. Yeah, we're just slinging seeds.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week of Slinging Seeds. This is your host, Kyle Evans. This is my co-host, Doug Adams, and our special guest today, Naaman Anderkin. Doug, can you give us a little bit of background on Naaman?
Yeah, I know a little bit of background on Naaman. So Naaman obviously played for me at Dayton Christian. He was a 22 graduate, played for the Canes in the summertime, so we had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, played for Brian Corbett, Kent Reeser, me. He kind of bounced around in the program, to get all his work in. Went on to Salem out of high school. Ended up redshirting there. Ended up at Lane in Tennessee. Came back to Edison. Got the injury, which I'm sure we'll talk about that. And, at Edison State and working as an instructor at Elevate. I think I pretty much got it, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So how you been, man?
I've been good, dude.
Good.
Just got Tommy John surgery about 5 days ago, so I'm coming off that.
Healing up nicely?
Yeah, it's healing up good.
Doug, you want to go ahead and get started with our first
Sure.
subject?
So, I think the first thing would be, obviously you're coming off the surgery. So, you're a little older, right? A little older.
Yeah.
You're having the surgery. Where's your mindset right now coming off the elbow?
At first I thought, oh, there's my career. Like, I went to the doctor's office, and when he said that I needed Tommy John, I cried in this doctor's arms for like 30 minutes, because I thought that was it. This is all I ever known, all I ever had. So, I was wrecked. You can ask my mom. I've been known to be a head case, and I think that was probably the peak of that. So, but after thinking about it and really talking to the doctor, he said this surgery gained 5 to 8 miles per hour. I was high 8s at Tennessee, so I was like, dude, if I could be a low 90s guy, like, why not, see what happens. So, right now I think it's in the back of my mind, and I'm going to keep it there, but when the time comes, I definitely want to see what my velo is and, what I'm working with, because, you never know.
No, absolutely.
Well, you've always been a guy that they're going to have to cut the uniform off.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll never be too far away.
No, you'll never be too far. Men's league, something. You're going to do something where you're going to play baseball. So.
Yeah, if you don't want me on the wagon, you better push me off.
Yeah, it's like that Luke Combs song. He says, if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be doing this. So I think that's been my mindset with it.
Well, that's always been the case. A little bit, something else you're doing that I'm really interested in is you've obviously been working for the Reds doing their youth camps.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about what that's like, what that situation is, and all those things.
Yeah, man. So the Reds camps are awesome. I got started with that in the summer, and that was probably the most fun job I've ever had. Like, I didn't really think I was getting a paycheck until I saw it in the bank, and I was like, oh, I get paid for this. That's awesome. But basically, they have you travel around. So we go from Kentucky to Indiana to, we were all over the place in the summer. We go week to week. We go Monday to Friday. We come back home, repack our suitcases, and we were on to the next place. And it was cool because it was the dudes who did the camps were a bunch of, D1, D2 guys or people that's been in baseball forever, where they coached, at this college, or they did this or they did that. So we'd have a day at the high school, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Wednesday was a ballpark day. So what a ballpark day is the charter bus would come pick us up and all the kids, and we might have, 100, 150 kids. They'd pick all of us up. We'd go to the ballpark and we'd do our drills there and whatever, and then we'd meet one of the players. So, 1 week it was Fernando Cruz, the next week it was Tyler Stevenson. So they were with us all day, whatever, and then we'd go back to the high school after the day was over, and, in camp Thursday, Friday, and then get back on the road to wherever we were going next. But that was a blast, man. That was awesome.
That sounds awesome. It sounds like you're like in a rock band. But like baseball. That's like the coolest thing in the world. So I was actually wanting to get into some of your guys' stuff at DC, Dayton Christian. I think it's a place that's very important to you. So, Doug, if you, I don't know exactly where you would like to
Set
start.
him up. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a
What
setup,
does DC mean? I mean, tell us a little bit about your time at DC and what DC means to you.
Dude, me and my buddy Caleb, we always still talk about our memories at DC. I don't think anything will beat that. All the road trips, all the days playing there. The craziness we got into, as Doug can probably tell you, all the trouble, all that kind of stuff. But man, it was awesome, dude. We still, reminisce, and those were just the greatest days. You get done with class. I don't think we paid attention all day on game days, and then we'd go play. And I think Doug could tell you, our junior, senior year, I think we beat up on pretty much everybody. So I think those were, the fun memories.
Doug, can you kind of bring us back to that?
Well, yeah, that 22 class. I mean, I think they set a million school records. So winningest class in school history. I think you guys won 70 games
Yeah.
in 3 years.
Wow.
Or 60 games.
Yeah.
61 games maybe in 3 seasons because they didn't get 20, right? So. Yeah, COVID took away their sophomore year, which I still believe would have probably been the most talented team I had ever been around, because you had the 22 class, but you also had the 20 class with Dylan Bauer, Justin Dilhoff, Andrew Dreyer. Yeah, they all that team was. I mean, there were 5 guys throwing 84 or better at a small division in baseball. So that team would have been absolutely incredible. I will say that I've been coaching a long time, and I have a lot of big-time bonds, but the bond with that 22 group is probably as tight as anything I've ever been around. And the reason for that is because after the 2020 season, DC baseball was dead, right? We were all told that. It was dead. Dilhoff's gone, Dreyer's gone, Bauer's gone, and we had a legit us versus the world mentality, right? And I probably said it 64,000 times, and I'm sure he still hears it in his head, that faces change, expectations don't. And that became our slogan for the next 2 years. And it wasn't just the players with the chip. I'll be honest. I had a little bit of a chip too, right? We were going to go prove everybody wrong. Made it all the way to the district semi. Had a rough day where we played really bad defensively, lost to a team in Catholic Central in a game that just everything that could go wrong went wrong, right? So it's just something that we had to do. So. But yeah, no, the Dayton Christian times were special. I mean, Naaman had a big-time career, missed some time, played through some stuff, but that group was special. Isaiah Boss, Caleb Tomlin, Naaman, Nick Dilhoff, Luke Carnegas, like that group was special.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you've been in my office.
I was about to say, every Friday morning I go to Doug's office and I see that shadow box.
Yeah, it's a huge poster of the picture of the 5 of them. All 5 of them have signed it. And it's got a list of all their records around the picture of them, you know what I mean, and everything that they accomplished. And I'll be honest, it's as much fun as I've ever had coaching. So freshman year, you didn't play very much. It's something I think the kids can really understand. You came in as a freshman, and we had a really good team with that 2020 group. Right, first was locked up, third was locked up. You had all these pitchers. You didn't get on the mound enough, and everything was my fault.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
What would you say to a high school kid that goes through that now as a freshman and us not getting the opportunities he exactly wants? What would you say to that guy with what you know now?
Dude, with what I know now, that was crazy, because I remember I was pissed. I hated Doug Adams, my freshman year. But what you don't realize is you go from being like the biggest dog, right? And then you start playing with kids who are 4 years older than you. They're going to be better than you. And that's just kind of how it is. But you got to literally just work in the darkness until your time does come, and that's when you got to take advantage of it, because it was kind of one of those things where, I thought I was good, and then when I got my opportunity, I was awful. I wasn't ready for that opportunity, even though I wanted that opportunity so bad. I wasn't, prepared for that. So I think, the biggest thing is you got to be ready for that moment, because when that moment comes calling and you're not ready, you're probably not going to get another one after that. So you really just need to focus on being your best self, even if you're not on the field, so that way when you are on the field, you're ready for anything that comes at you.
No, I think that's really important, because I know that I don't know if we have some freshmen in our program, but I do know some freshmen that I work with instruction-wise, and even from my school. They're not really excited with the idea of not being able to play at the highest level where they're at and being a starter. and they think they're talented enough to be there. Well, I mean, a lot of guys think that, right? But you have to understand who you're competing against, stuff like that. It's kind of like the recruiting conversations we get into. You know, you being a freshman at a high school, you got a lot of guys to compete against. There's 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds. There's all kinds of guys. And especially once you get out on the field and play other teams, those games get crazier because you don't know who's got 10 seniors. You don't know who's got, you know, all sophomores this year for some, you know what I mean? Like Northmont last year, they were young. Wait till you see those guys this year. And they're in my conference, so I got to deal with it. So, I mean, you know, that's the way I see it. So I'm glad you kind of hit on that because I think some of our freshmen need to hear that. Moving into that, Doug, can you share any more enlightening or funny memories between you and Naaman or the 22?
I still remember one. It was my junior year. I just threw like 6 shutout innings, and Doug comes to take the ball from me, and I handed it over, but I tickled him under his armpits. And I remember he got to the dugout, and he got me in the corner. He's like, "Naaman, you better never, ever do that again." Probably some stuff I shouldn't say on this podcast, but that's one of the ones I still look back on a lot.
Probably one of my favorite Naaman stories. There's probably 2 that stand out. The first one is we're in Orlando just before COVID at the Disney Classic. So the Disney Classic was, in my opinion, one of the most fun tournaments you could ever play, and it doesn't exist anymore, and it would be over New Year's. So we went down there. We're playing some team for Virginia, right? And Naaman hits an absolute nuke to beat this team 3-2 and like send us to the championship game. So that was a really cool moment. The other 2 that I would probably come with are his time early when he came to me and said, because his freshman year, you don't understand how much he disliked me, right? And how
I'm trying to fill this one out.
it was difficult, right?
Because you guys have a good relationship now, so it's
incredible. I love the guy to death. I would die for this kid. You know, so love him to death. But he came to me at the end of freshman year, freshman summer, at the summer after freshman year, and I don't know why. And he comes to me and goes, "Coach, I would like to come to the Canes." And I went, "What?" And I thought I was being punked or something. You know, I just thought he was screwing with me. And then he came over, and then and I don't know what caused him to do that, but our relationship changed.
Well, I mean, Naaman, tell us what made you make that decision.
I think it was when I really saw Doug cared, you know, because I thought he was just, you know, he had this act of like, oh, he's, you know, he doesn't like me, he's a punk. And then once I realized that he was hard on me because he knew what I could do, you know, he loved me, actually. It was just, you know, I couldn't see that through, you know, the shell, but he really just cared about me, and that's why he was pushing me to be better. Where, see, I'm not good with that kind of stuff. I need to be babied.
I mean,
players don't care how much you know until they know how much
exactly.
You care. And, you know, so he ended up coming, and obviously we had a great run in summertime, and we had a great run in high school, and we had a phenomenal relationship, and one of my favorite people in the world, and one of my wife's favorites, and right, Jamie loves him to death, and he's definitely part of our family. And so, I mean, that was really, really cool, right? That was really, really cool when he decided to come over. The other thing would be the first day of his junior year. So where was it, senior year?
Junior.
Yeah.
Junior year.
So first day of his junior year, we had got pretty much shellacked by National Trail the year before. They beat us up pretty good, right? And
so opening day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the last time before we had played them, they beat us up pretty good. So we come out, and I tell him he's going to get the ball. And, hey, Naaman, we had built him up, and he was at 85, 90 pitches, right? And that's the most he was going to go. And it was a warmer day, so, like, it wasn't freezing. The stupidest thing is we're like wearing masks and stuff, but then we would high five, and it just never made any sense to me. But we were following the rules, right? And he goes out against National Trail on opening day, and he's at 83 pitches after 6. And I tell him he's done in the dugout, and he's like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, "What do you mean you're done?" I was like, "This is our limit." He's like, "Coach, how many no-hitters did you throw?"
Oh.
And I said, "I threw 1. And in my sophomore year." And he goes, "So I'm not allowed to have the same chance you had?"
That's what did. I was good at convincing when I wanted to be.
And I was like, okay, I'll send you back out there because my line has always been 100. We'll never cross it. Okay, you got 15 pitches. So we go out there. He's at like 96 pitches. There's 2 outs. Somebody gets on base. So I walk out to the mound. I'm like, cool, I gave you your shot. It was a walk, I think, or something.
No, I'll give him a shout. It was Nick Dilhoff. It was a drop third strike on a changeup in the dirt.
There you go. Nick Dilhoff.
Thanks, Nick Dilhoff. Love you, bro.
So I go out there to get the ball, and he wouldn't give it to me. And so he's like, just give me one more batter. And then Nick chimes in something about, it was my fault. You should have given one more batter. It's not Naaman's fault. So we go back. He ends up getting the next kid out. Throws a no-hitter on opening day at varsity baseball at Dayton Christian. And I have a picture. It's one of my favorite pictures in the world. And it's just me and him hugging afterward. And you can't see me. I'm blocked, which is probably why it's my favorite picture, right? You can't see me.
Yeah.
But he's got this huge smile on his face, and you just see absolute joy as he's giving me a hug. But we're wearing masks and all this fun stuff. You can see all the players in the background with masks on while we're hugging. I mean, the whole COVID time. So that's probably my best memory is that moment when he hugged me and told me he loved me, and kind of realized how full circle we had come in those 2 years, and he knew that I would always be there for him, and it's kind of the case. No matter what he's doing, I'm his number one fan.
Appreciate you.
Tell us a little bit about that game, then. I actually really want to hear more about that because that's you don't get moments like those. You know what I mean? Like those don't come very often.
Well, I still remember I wasn't supposed to get the ball. It was actually Ryan Edgerton who was supposed to get it, and I was getting the second game of the no-hitter. And then Ryan was like, well, I'm playing shortstop, so I'd rather just play shortstop the first game and then pitch the second one, so give it to Naaman. So I remember he called me the night before and was like, give me the ball. And you're getting the ball. And I was like, oh, yeah, give me the ball. So then we get to the field, and I remember you can ask Doug, I was a psychopath in high school, man. Like, they got off the bus, and I think I was on the bench just staring at every single one of them, get off the bus. I was sizing them all up from there.
You didn't talk to Naaman on days he started. Like, literally, you didn't have a conversation with him.
No, I want to look at anybody, man. So I remember, we get the game started. I'm pretty sure I punch out the side the first inning, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm rolling. It seems pretty good. The velo felt good and everything. And then second inning, it was an easy inning, and I was like, okay. And then I think it wasn't until the fifth inning that someone was like, you have a no-hitter. And I remember I don't think I've been that mad in my life. I was like, dude, why did you say that? Like, I was like, what are you doing? So the sixth inning goes easy, and then I still remember Doug coming out there, and we still joke about it because I remember I put the ball in my glove and put it behind my back. And Doug gets out there, and he goes, give me the ball. And I said, you're not getting this thing. You're going to have to take it. And then I remember, I think that was probably the longest mound visit I've ever had in my life because Doug wasn't giving up at first, and I wasn't giving up. So after I think 3 minutes and the umpire just standing there, Doug finally decided to give up and walk away. And then I remember striking out that last dude. And it was weird though because since it was COVID, we couldn't celebrate. So I remember everyone was just kind of like jumping up and down in place, and that was about it. But yeah, dude, it's probably one of my favorite high school memories. That was awesome. Throwing the no-hitter to my best friend too. One of my best friends, Nick Dilhoff. So
yeah, I mean Nick comes in still catches bullpens for us to this day. So. When you hear of moments of like defiance like that where a guy kind of like, hey, I think I got this. Doug, can you kind of tell us, because I'm sure that Naaman's not the only guy that's ever been like, hey, I think I can do this. Can you kind of give us a little bit of background on how you deal with that?
Like stories or how I deal with it?
How you deal with it as a coach, like how you evaluate.
Well, you have to earn that.
Yeah.
Right? Not everybody can do that. Some new kid tries that with me, it's not going to end well.
Right.
Right. But when I know that that ball being in your hand is the most important thing in the world, and I'm not putting you at harm. Now that's the key, right?
Yeah, I think
because
that's the biggest
if we get to a certain pitch count, I don't care if I'm bringing the National Guard out. We're taking that baseball. All right. But if they have pitches left and they truly believe in it, and I think part of that goes with your relationship with a player. I think it builds that trust, right? Okay. But you can't do it every time, right? It has to be in that true moment where, like, Coach, I got this, and you see true belief in their eye. I don't see it as defying me, all right, as a coach, because it's never about me. I mean, I'm irrelevant. I haven't had an at-bat since 2002. It's always about them. So If I see true belief in their eyes and they say, no, I got this, and we can do that safely, then yeah, let's go. Because it's like I said, it's always about them. It's never about us. But I've had some guys that are tough, right? Naaman was tough to take out of a game. Evan Fry was tough to take out of a game, right? I mean, Naaman and Evan were kind of scary when you went out to the mound sometimes to get the ball from them. You know what I mean? There's other, and that's just who they were. That's who they were as competitors and all those things. So, but I mean, I think the players have to know that you believe in them. And when they say, "I got this," how do you look at them and say, "No, you don't"?
It's hard.
And how do you keep that trust if you do?
That's what I was actually going to ask, because sometimes when you have to say no, right? Your walk away as a player is normally, wow, this guy doesn't believe in me. So for you being able to do that for the last 20 plus years, you know what I mean? That means a lot to the community and a lot to your players, I'm sure too, right? The fact that he had that much trust in you, and that's what came of it, a great memory. Before we move into our next subject, I just wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor. If you're planning a move and you need assistance in your plan, our proud sponsor, 2 Men in a Truck, is dedicated to making your process stress-free, as simple as possible, and they pride themselves in selfless service, helping you do whatever it takes. Waste no time and contact 2 Men in a Truck today. Now,
I tell you what, speaking of 2 Men in a Truck, when my mom moved, I did that. We just paid for it. Oh my God, it was so nice. It was like an hour. We were out. We packed everything up. They did it for you. It was all wrapped up. All we had to do was wrap stuff up before they come in, put it in the truck, drove to my mom's new house, unloaded it all. Oh my God, it was so much less stressful. Sorry.
I didn't know your mom got moved to a truck.
They did. Payne took care of me. That's my guy.
He is our guy. I actually, it's funny we talk about him. I train his son. Dude, that kid's
his son mashes. He was number 2 until last night. Now he's number 3, but he'll come back this week.
Well, he's coming back tonight.
Because Eli Tucker hit 66.2 last night.
But no, moving on to the next subject, we talk about recruitment a lot. Can you kind of tell us about your recruitment to Salem, how that went, committing, signing day, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I remember Doug was always talking to me about schools and, this, that, and the other, but I remember what really hurt me is I got my first elbow surgery senior year. So I missed my whole senior year, and that really killed my recruitment, with that happening. So I remember I didn't really have a lot of great options, not the options I wanted to. And it was about a week out before I was like, I'm probably going to sign at some JUCO, honestly. And I remember I get a call from Salem, West Virginia, saying that they wanted me. And I remember, it was a D2 school. I looked it up. Their field was nice. Their facility was nice. And then we go on my visit, and we walk into the facility, and they're playing, old time, Alan Jackson. And I was like, yeah, dude, I have to go here. So I remember I signed to Salem, and that was that. But I think that was really a blessing because I thought I had nothing. I was still in a sling when I was on my visit, so I didn't know how I was going to go. But Salem said, we'll rehab you. We'll get you to where you want to be. We trust that you'll be that dude you were. So that was really a blessing for that to happen.
Now, fast forwarding a little bit, you decided to go into the transfer portal. Ended up at Lane last year. I saw you throw before you left with live ABs. You looked really good. And then you texted me, I don't think halfway through the season, saying things were kind of persistent in a bad way. Can you kind of tell us how things went at Lane?
So I transferred to Lane, and it was in Jackson, Tennessee, and it was about an hour from Nashville. And it was the most fun I think I've ever had in my life on a baseball field. That place was crazy. That team was tight. It reminded me a lot of high school, and it was surprising because it was a college team, but all the dudes were close. It was a bunch of hillbillies, honestly, so I like to say playing baseball together. It was awesome. But Tennessee was a great experience all around. I had a great church. It was called Northside Assembly, and I think that's honestly where I grew up as a man. I had my group of old men there that I loved. They really took care of me there. But anyway, getting back to the baseball side of things, I go into the season. They said I'm going to be first out of the bullpen, and I remember, they really liked me there, and they said I was going to get a lot of innings. And I come in to pitch against Blue Mountain, Mississippi, and I remember it was cold, but it wasn't that cold. It was probably 40-something degrees. And I remember my hands, it was no feeling. I was trying to throw change-ups, and I had no idea where it was going. I had no feeling. So I tell the coach and all that. I get out of the inning somehow without giving up a run. They send me to the trainer, and she was like, oh, well, from all your nerve surgeries, because I'm sitting at 3 surgeries at that point. So she was like, with all this nerve damage, you probably you don't have feeling in your hands. So I pitched in a few more games. I honestly don't do bad. And then they go to the doctor, and they were like, oh, so the thing that holds your sling in play, or the thing that slings your nerve in place, I actually tore through. So they said it was bouncing around like a pinball machine, making my nerve go wild. So that was my season from there. So I get a surgery in Jackson. Of course I stick around there a little bit because I loved it. But the baseball team actually ended up just going like kaput. Everyone left. The coach left. So there's not even a baseball team right now. So that hurt because I was planning on staying there, dude. Because that was, like I said, I loved it. I didn't think it could get better than where I was at. So.
Follow.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was a tough situation when the baseball program goes away, right,
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
And so came to Edison.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're a student assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little about your responsibilities there, and how you're enjoying that scenario.
Yeah, so after Lane went away and I had that surgery, I was going to go to JUCO. Some guys said to go there, so I went there, and I think I was in our second inter-squad scrimmage. I felt something just blow up in my elbow. Like, it felt like I literally just got shot. So go to the doctor, and of course it's TJ, and I also tore the flexor tendon. So now I'm looking at another surgery, number 5. So they said, okay, we're going to schedule that for about 2 months out. And I thought I was done with baseball. Like, I thought everything was over. So I was literally looking at jobs online, like high school baseball coach, places like that. And that's when he said, well, you can come be a student assistant. So I was like, all right, we'll try it out. So I ended up coming on as a student assistant, working with the dudes, which it was weird because I was just playing with them like a week ago, and now, I'm like a student assistant. But we've been settling in nicely, and I think the guys have earned some respect for me. So, dude, it's been fun. I mean, I think the coaching side after baseball ends will probably be what I really want to go to because, I always want to stick around. In my eyes, it's never really having a real job when you're working with baseball. So I want to be just try to stay in it as long as possible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that. I have to give a lot of thanks to Doug. I mean, every day I wake up and I come in this building, I feel like a kid on a playground, and I just so happen to get paid for it.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to take you back a little bit to the high school thing because I know how important it is to you, right? So there's a lot of kids who say, man, I can't wait for summer ball, and they look at high school baseball like it's a less than.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what high school baseball means to you and what your high school baseball experience meant to you, and what would you say to the high school kid that goes, man, I can't wait till summer ball starts?
In my opinion, honestly, I thought high school ball was way better than summer ball, in my opinion. But I think it's really important, something that I always stick to is be where your feet are. I think if your next game is that game in a high school uniform, you just got to be in the moment. You got to be there. You can't be looking forward to something else and be in, a whole different thing. You got to be ready for what's coming at you next. Because who knows, something like COVID could happen. You may not even have a summer season, So always just take that moment you're in. Never take that for granted. I think that's the most important thing because, the time just flies by, man. Like what I'd give now to go back to a high school baseball game with all my boys. So I think it's just important to be where you're at.
I think all 3 of us here would give anything to just for one day, maybe just one day. I don't want to go back for.
Okay, so one of the other things that we take a lot of pride in at Dayton Christian is the conference streak, right? It was always, well, I'm not going to be the senior that loses that streak. So tell us a little bit about the Dayton Christian Conference Championship streak going back, a lot of years, winning the Metro Buckeye. What does that still mean to you? And tell me a little bit about what Dayton Christian Baseball's current team means to that group, because I still get texted and get yelled at if we don't play well.
I think it's funny because our class still has a group chat, and it's almost like we're just waiting. We're looking every year, but we're like, what class is going to be the one to lose it? Because we're just waiting to tear them apart. Someone said they were like, we don't know these kids, but we're going to DM them, chewing them out, and be like, you don't know us, but we played, and you just ruined our whole thing we had going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was funny because when our class, it was our class this time, I think everyone was worried but us. We had no worries, man. But, if you asked the school, they thought we were going to be trash, and then, next thing you know, we ended up winning a lot of ball games together. So
you guys were talking about Dayton Christian. You guys were talking about being a freshman playing baseball. While you were spending your time at DC, you got to see Alec Halter as a freshman, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That kid's a senior now. Tell me a little bit about Alec, about how you see him as a young guy. And then transition, I would like for you to kind of tell us about what you think about Alec now.
I think when he first got in the program, I think he made a lot of guys mad because he was this little kid that was just unbelievable talent, like this little kid with grown man strength is like how I like to put it. He'd go in the weight room and he'd be showing up seniors like nothing. He was one of those guys that in my opinion, you had to give him respect, but of course he was a freshman, so you couldn't really give him respect. But his freshman year was unbelievable.
Doug
man.
loves freshmen, right?
Yeah, they're amazing.
He was unbelievable though, man. Like watching that firsthand, that was crazy to see out a freshman. I don't think that kid had nerves. Like I don't think he got nervous at all, which was insane to me because I've always been, a nervous wreck. But that kid never showed fear. I don't think one time. And the numbers and the things he did freshman year, that's gonna be hard for another freshman to put up a season like that again. He got Player of the Year.
He got Player of the Year in the league.
Yeah.
Player of the Year as a freshman.
Yeah, wild. That's what I mean. I think at the end of the year, the seniors and everyone started to gravitate towards him. But, dude, that was a crazy season.
Now, I do want to save a little bit more for Alec and.
I think it's different, right? Because when the 20 class, when Naaman came in as a freshman, right? They hear about how this is the guy. This is going to be the guy, and you're like, well, what do you mean he's the guy? I'm still here. Right? So Naaman had to work through that with the older guys and build that relationship. And then Alec comes in, and you've got this group of 22s that have won a lot of games, right? They've been, at that time, because they didn't have the 20 season, they made a district final and a district semifinal in their first 2 years of high school ball. And they're like, what do you mean he's the guy? I'm still here.
Yeah.
Right? So it takes time to build that rapport and all that, right? And last year, you think back, and I'm sure the seniors felt the same way about Jack Orth and Daniel coming in as freshmen, starting, right? What do you mean I haven't went anywhere. So, but no, it's fun to see the relationship that they all have with Alec now. You know what I mean? I remember senior year, Nick Dillhoff's a heck of a catcher, right? Still playing at Wright State Lake and all that fun stuff. But he ended up playing some left field because at some point you just had to realize that's Alec Halter back there, right? He's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So obviously Alec, talented player, really, really good. But yeah, it was fun to see you guys have that relationship with him. I've known you a long time, so I know how rooted in your faith you are. Tell us about your relationship a little bit with Christ and,
Yeah, so I think one thing I've always struggled with really bad is fear. Fear that I won't perform or fear, about over anything, honestly. And I think when I really turned to him is when that fear started going away. I don't think I've felt fear in a long time, and I think that really helped me with the game of baseball because I was, a wreck. But I think I just got to think about that's God's got me, so what am I worried about at the end of the day? And I think my faith was strong going through high school, but like I said, going back to that church in Tennessee, I think when that started going on, that really changed everything for me. I think that was one of the truest churches I've ever been to, and I left every Sunday feeling 10 times better about what's going on in life and where I'm at. And I really think God led me to Tennessee for a reason. And I tell my family I think that's where I really turned to a man. I lived on my own. Obviously I was 8 hours away from home. I still, managed to go to church every Sunday. I'd try to go Wednesday nights after practice or after lift, and I think that's when everything really changed for me, because God is really the answer for, anything. What do we have if we don't have God? So,
No, I agree with 100%.
It's a great game, but when you can add Him into it, I think your life will really change,
No, absolutely. I think there's times with faith that I'm starting to find myself be stronger as well. And I'm sure when you went down to that church in Tennessee, it maybe brought some early moments of your faith back, because I feel like when you spend some time away, that's what it does. Naaman, before we go today, I just wanted to tell you how much we appreciate you coming on the show.
Obviously, I love you dearly. You're special. You're one of my guys, always have been. I love seeing what you're doing with the Reds, Edison, Elevate. I hope all those things are extremely successful because you deserve it.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, that's all the time we have for for today. Like I said, Naaman, we really appreciate you coming on. And if you guys want to find more stuff like this, you can find us on Spotify and YouTube, as well as seeing our notifications on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's all the time we got. That's a wrap.